Hey everyone, today we're going to look at 36 different ways to improve your playing. So if you find, I don't know why I've got that earphone in, if you find that you're stuck in a bit of a rut, try some of these techniques, try one, try all 36. Hopefully there's a few ideas in there to get you going. Let's get to it. Tip number one, probably the most important, is don't just play the stuff that you already know. So if you're really comfortable playing C, F and G, just don't do that all the time. Try and do some different stuff. Try and mix it up. Play things that you don't already know. If every practice session you sit down and start playing the same things that you know, you're not really going to get that much better. You get better when you try to do things that you can't already do. Next tip is to try a completely new technique that you've never tried before. So if you've never tried finger picking before, give it a whirl. It's really not that difficult, just takes a bit of practice. Next tip is to try a metronome. So use a metronome for your practice, really good. Your timing will get so much better if you practice. Your timing will get so much better if you practice with a metronome. It's definitely worth doing. Next up is to try a different musical genre. So if you're always playing the same kind of stuff, let's say you're a bit of an indie kid or something like that, are you always playing indie songs, or you're always playing, like, I don't know, songs from the 50s, something like that. Just mix it up, try something completely different. So recently I've been working on more Celtic music, which is a bit of a challenge. Still working on that. Okay, so how about trying to put in a little bit of percussive stuff into your playing? Let me give this a whirl now. Pretty fun. Definitely worth a try. Next two tips are part of the same tip, really. So stop playing right at the bottom of the deck. No need to always play open chords right down here. It can be a lot of fun when you get further up here. So if you already know, I guess, a C, an F and a G. What about if you pick up the C chord here, and the F chord here, and the G chord here? Okay, we've moved a little bit further away from the bottom of the neck. That will really help. And that goes straight into my next tip, which is, once you've learned kind of most of the chords, or most of the basic chords, learn them in another position. So don't just learn them in one position. Learn kind of, definitely at least all the majors and minors in at least two positions. Next tip is to improvise. So yeah, I made that up. It wasn't that good, but it can be pretty good to improvise now and again, whether that's soloing, whether it's improvising with chords, whether it's just making up strumming patterns. Just make a little bit of time to just improvise, just not follow things down to T. Okay, next up, if you always play from tab, get rid of it. Sometimes play without tab. Try and use your ears a little bit. My wife's going to kill me for that. Try just play on one string. Give that a go. So, like, I don't know, if you're kind of used to moving around the strings a little bit, restrict yourself to just a single string, see what you can do. What you'll start to do there is you'll start to use things like slides. You heard me playing a couple of slides in there. You'll probably start to do pull-offs a little bit more if you're playing on one string. It can really help, like just restricting yourself, giving yourself like really kind of a confined place to play. It can definitely help. Give that a go. My next tip is to try and grab a ukulele course. There are some good courses out there. The reason I like courses is they give you a really defined path to go and learn towards. So many videos, my videos included, on YouTube will tell you like one little thing to do, and then there's another video to do another little thing, but it's just separate bits of information. They're not actually gearing you towards any end goal or anything like that, whereas a course is going to be far more structured. There are loads of courses out there. I'll put some in the descriptions at the bottom, some of the ones that I think are the better courses. If you really want to level up and you want a clear path and you don't want to waste any time, take a look at a course. Okay, so if let's say you've got a song down, let's say, well, let's pick Stand By Me in the key of C. Let's say you play that song and you've got it down pretty good, you know it really well. Why don't you try and finger pick that? Or if you're always finger picking a song, why don't you switch it so that you're strumming it? I haven't practiced this, so this could sound terrible. Let me have a go. Okay, so next up is to get a friend. I know it's really difficult right now with lockdown, but hopefully we're nearly out of that. But play with someone else. Maybe you can do it over Zoom. Hopefully when coronavirus is all done and dusted, you can go to a ukulele club or something like that. Yeah, just try and play with someone else. They'll teach you things. You'll pick up things from their playing. Can be really, really useful, that, if you can. Here's a good one, actually. They always say one of the best ways to learn something is to teach it. So if you have somebody in your family or a friend or something like that you can show some stuff to, the questions that they ask when you're teaching them will sort of force you to consolidate that knowledge down, and you'll find that you know things better. One of the things I do as my job is I teach people to code, and I've been coding for probably, I don't know, like 15 years, something like that. And I never understood coding better than when I started teaching a few years back. Honestly, it just made my knowledge just that much better. Here's one that my old guitar teacher used to make me do. Get on stage. He used to kind of put a performance in and say, look, if you really want to learn something, get up on stage and go and play it. It will force you to learn it. You're going to have to get through the difficult spell. You're going to have to get through the song. And ultimately, I think one of the things when it comes to performing, even if your family are watching you or something like that, is you will play through your mistakes, which if you're learning in your bedroom or at home, what you will often do when you hit a mistake is just stop and start again. Can't do that when you're performing. You've got to keep going, so you need to sort of learn that skill as well. Here's a weird one. Sometimes when I don't have a uke, I will practice finger picking without my ukulele. So I'll come up with a pattern, and it may be sort of 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, and I'll just practice it on anything. Doesn't matter whether I've got a piece of paper, whether it's my hand. I'll try and practice that technique. It's just something that you can do. It doesn't take any of your time up. You can be doing something else while you're doing it. And it's just a way to practice finger picking. Okay, so start to train your ears. There's loads of ways you can do this. There's little apps online where they'll play a note and you've got to kind of recognise it. I like to get someone in my family to take one of my second ukes, hide it, or not show me what they're doing, and play a note. And then I have to go and find that note on my ukulele, and I'll go, okay, is it that one? No, is it that one? Yeah, it is. So that's one way of doing it. You can also just do this through listening to really simple tunes and just trying to work them out. Next tip is to work on scales. It's pretty boring is working on scales, but they are useful. So if you've never worked with any scales before, learn the minor pentatonic, learn the major scale. You will find them useful. Definitely worth practicing scales a little bit at least. Okay, another tip here is to lose your index finger. I don't mean chop it off or anything like that. Just try play some chords. So if you're used to playing an F chord and you use your index finger, 1 and 2 like this, try play that F chord without your index finger. So I'm using 2 and 3 instead. Beauty of me using 2 and 3 is I can now slide that chord up. Minimum fuss. Quite good for... I'm not saying you should always do it, but it can be useful to just drop the index finger from chords so that you can then introduce the bar chord and slide it up and around. You've got more chords, more bang for your buck. If you're not used to playing by ear, one that I like to do is like when little, really good for TV shows, like TV show themes come on, just try and replicate them on your ukulele. Let me have a go at one now. So like one of my youngest son used to like this show a lot. Not that song. And I would just try and mimic it while it was on. Pretty annoying for him, but good practice for me. If you always play sitting down, try and stand up. It's different because if you don't have a strap, you've got to kind of hold the ukulele without dropping it. And if you always play standing up, try playing sitting down. Just it's a different thing. It will force you to play a little bit differently. Definitely worth those. Next up is to pick a song that's only got one chord in it. There are a few out there. There are a few songs that only have one chord. And when you're learning a song that's got one chord, it gets very boring very quickly for the listener. So there's a lesson on my site. I think it's Lime in the Coconut by Harry Nilsson, which is a one chord song. So if you're just playing a one chord song and you're just playing a pretty standard strumming pattern, gets really boring really quickly. So what you've got to do there is you've got to mix it up. You've got to find new strumming patterns. So there I'm just trying to mix up the strumming a little bit. You want to throw a little bit of finger picking in there. You want to throw a few chord inversions in there so you're not playing the chord in the same position. It really sort of forces you to make things sound a bit interesting, which you can then take forward into songs that have got more than one chord in them. That's a really useful tip. Next up is to try a capo. I don't actually have a capo with me right now, but playing with a capo will start to just teach you a few different things about how chords sound, and it will also get you into transposing songs into different keys and things like that. I would also massively recommend memorizing the fretboard, so understanding which note is where on your fretboard. So presumably you know that the open strings are G, C, E, A. If you don't, you do now. Then I would recommend learning more of the notes. You can't do them all at once, but the next places or positions I would recommend learning the notes are at fret 5 and fret 7. C, F, A, D. So chickens fight all day. And then you've got here D, G, B, E. Don't go breaking everything. I use mnemonics to get those in. If you get 5 and 7 and you understand the notes at 5 and 7, you'll be able to use those as a reference point for other notes. Definitely worth learning the fretboard. Next one is not looking down. I'm going to show my ball patch now. Don't be always looking down at your hands and your fretboard as to what they're doing. So one of the things I'm doing lately is trying to sort of play either by looking away or with my eyes shut. Let's give it a whirl. So not brilliant at it yet, but you can see I'm sort of getting there without being able to look at it. Next one is to relax a little bit. Relax. When you're learning if you are learning a difficult part of a song or you're struggling with part of a song, you'll probably notice that your hands are really starting to tense up, and you'll sort of see it looking like this weird claw thing because your body's tensing up, all your arms and your elbows are getting really tight. When you notice that, just try and just chill, just relax a little bit, just loosen everything off. Your playing is far better when your arms and everything is less tense and there's a little bit more looseness to you. So definitely recommend relaxing. You'll spot this now I've mentioned it to you. Tap your foot when you're playing. By tapping your foot when you're playing, you're going to use your body's sort of internal metronome to keep the time. My guitar teacher, when I was about 21, taught me this. I didn't used to do it, and my timing was horrific before. It's much better as a result of that. So get into the habit of tapping your foot while you're playing. Next up is to learn a little bit of musical theory. It goes a long way, and it has this really weird thing where you learn musical theory in that when you first learn it and you can't play, it doesn't mean anything to you. But when you've got a few songs down and then you apply a little bit of musical theory, or you understand a little bit more musical theory, you start to get all sort of starts to piece together, and you go, oh, right, that makes sense now. So definitely get some basics of musical theory down. Next tip is to get a routine. Give yourself, like, I don't know, whatever amount of time it is that you've got to practice, set yourself a routine for that, rather than just picking up the uke and doing whatever you want. Try and give yourself a routine. You'll get better quicker. Dynamics, something I haven't shown you at all today in any of the playing I've done, are really useful. So if I play a little bit of The Last of Us. Sounds nice, but everything was the same volume there. I'll play the same thing again now with a little bit more sort of dynamic range in there. The mic on this camera might not get that so good, but it definitely sounds better here. Next up is don't be afraid to make mistakes. Things are going to go wrong. Don't worry about it. Just try it. It's better to make mistakes and learn from those mistakes than to not make those mistakes at all. Next one is to really listen when you're playing. So try and hear notes rather than just playing by tab. I threw my tab over there. It's still on the couch, which I'm going to get in trouble for. But force yourself to listen to notes and try and replicate them rather than just going by tab. Last few now. So cut the distractions. Turn your phone off. Turn the TV off. Get yourself in a quiet place. Again, you'll improve quicker with fewer distractions. Definitely 100% when I turn my phone off, I'm a better player. Try some books. It doesn't have to all be online with videos these days. Get yourself some books. Again, the beauty of books is that you are, just like the tip that I just said, there's no distractions to a book. If you're learning from YouTube, you can be learning a finger picking song 1 minute and then it will be recommending you Gangnam Style or something like that the next. Last two, go to a ukulele festival. You'll see players that are completely different, that you've never heard of before, that do things in a completely different way, in a different style, and maybe you'll just find something that you like. And then the last one, and I can't demonstrate this one anymore, is to try a low G ukulele as opposed to a high G ukulele. Or if you always play low G, play the high G. I used to have one and I sold it, so I can't demo it in this, but it does sound quite different, a low G to a high G. And if you've never done it before, you've got two ukuleles, maybe try one of them with a low G string. It's a nice variation for you. And that is it. I think we've done 36 tips. Hopefully you found something useful. I'll be back soon. Please do subscribe. It's massively appreciated. See ya.